Hello and welcome.
Welcome. What an opening. That is a crazy, wild opening you have there.
Intro. Oh, you like it?
I do. Yeah, it's awesome.
Because you just showed me there's some new functionality. First of all, hello, everybody. Welcome to Open Mind UFO Radio. I'm your host, Alejandro Rojas. This is my good friend, Martin Willis, who joins to just kind of harass me and be a goofball during the show.
That's the only reason I'm here.
And to offer valuable insight. And thanks for joining. But this tool that we use to stream is really cool. That's why you guys like coming here, right? We have these cool little things. In fact, got our names down here. We can change how it looks, play videos. And it's even cooler. There's more videos that you can do. So check out Martin's next show on YouTube, because he's gonna be utilizing the technology to its fullest, not like me, who is always behind the game and kind of scattered.
I don't know about that, but I will tell you this
company this first, didn't I?
The company we use they're advancing. They're getting more and more tools. I love this thing. So much better than the way we used to do it.
Some backsplash from my coffee. Yeah, so it's really cool, but we'll get started. First of all, I don't know if you could see this t-shirt. Let's see if you get it.
Are you talking to me or the customers? I mean,
you or anybody.
The listeners out there.
The listeners will get it. Watch, somebody's going to post any second. You're just making weird faces.
I'm trying to read.
Yeah, you don't get it. Tatooine. So it's kind of like a vacation t-shirt, as if I went to Tatooine, which of course is a Star Wars place. Luke Skywalker's house there.
No wonder. I'm not.
Or it could be, of course, it's in Mandalorian quite a bit too. So yeah, Rodrigo says Star Wars, Luke. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Wow.
So if you haven't watched it, Mandalorian, there's a lot of scenes and cool stuff that happens there. So check that out. Other stuff. Yeah. So we've got a lot going on. Usually what we do is cover UFO news, and we try to be focused on that and not goofy. Benjamin Phillips says, I visited Tatooine and all I got was this lousy t-shirt. That's hilarious. Yeah. So everybody, of course, people are watching live here on YouTube or on Facebook. Thank you so much. If you are watching, please do. Oh, I don't have my UFO in the shot. There we go. Please do post your questions and comments, and we'll try to get to that. Of course, be sure to stick to the topic of UFOs and stuff like that. We mostly are covering credible UFO news and information here. We're not afraid of any questions, so we'll address anything. But the more fringy stuff is kind of not our focus. We focus on the more credible. And for which it's funny, Kevin Childress, one of our viewers just joined and he said, "All be good." But there were some debates going on Twitter this morning that I actually got involved in. And there's some interesting things going on. And I think I'd like to start up the conversation kind of with that. And this is what's funny, Martin. I'm not sure if you ran across this. And the UFO community felt, kind of hurt because when To the Stars came about, there actually was some talk of, we want to stay away from the UFO community a bit and these sort of things. And To the Stars being the group that Tom DeLonge, the rock star, started, and then these credible government officials, former government officials joined, including Chris Mellon, who worked for the Senate Intelligence Committee, and Lou Elizondo, of course, who is the intelligence guy for the DOD, who worked actually looking into UFO cases under the Group A tip, and some other people, CIA scientists who work for the government who were part of this ATIP, and all kinds of stuff like this. Their concerns, of course, were that they were speaking to the mainstream scientists, their colleagues in the government, the mainstream media. That's who they were trying to attract. And a lot of the UFO community felt off-put that they said they didn't want to interact much with the UFO community. Now, not everybody said that. I would say it was kind of To the Stars in general. It was kind of a policy, but Lou Elizondo himself never said that. In fact, he told me something very different. And fortunately, my experience was not the same as the experience of others in the UFO community. But at this point, I'm curious, Martin, how did you feel when that first happened? Did you feel, oh, that's a wise policy, or did you feel slighted?
Well, I felt mixed feelings because I think, in some ways it seemed like, probably a good idea, because if someone like them is going to get involved, they really don't know who's out there in the UFO community or any type of community where you can trust or not trust. They'd have to do a lot of research before they know that. So first of all, they have to, move ahead with caution in that case. And then I guess I felt like I wish there was more of a connection. Like, we, not me, but a lot of people out there have been, researching for years, trying to do a really good, credible job. And then there's not any like transparency or cooperation. And I thought that was that could have been hurtful, and they could have actually maybe moved ahead also with cooperation. But again, how do they pick who they're going to work with? And there could be there's a lot of jealousy in the field anyway, and that certainly would brew up a lot if they chose, like, I'm not even going to say a name. I don't dare to. But if they chose someone, let's just say they chose you. All of a sudden they say, all right, we're going to go with Alejandro. And well, I'm just saying, whoever they chose, someone is going to attack, because all of a sudden, that person is, why did they choose them over me? And I've been doing this since 1923 or whatever it is, So,
well, and you're right, because they did choose me over others, and I did get attacked quite a lot. I was attacked pretty hardcore, actually. Now that I think about it, as a sympathizer, that I'm just repeating their lies, and I'm just believing everything that they said. This sort of thing, which wasn't the case, and I'll share my experience as we go through this. But here's the problem with that perspective that you just shared, which I think is a common sense perspective, and a perspective that many had, is that the hard part is when you're hearing so much ridiculousness coming from the UFO community, not just ridiculousness, and also, I should say, fringe ideas, and I should say unsubstantiated information, because a lot of it is anything but ridiculous. It's not ridiculous, but it's unsubstantiated. And the others, I know a lot of a community are experiencers, not just people who claim to have alien experiences, but sightings and stuff. And these events or experiences have been traumatic, and they want some kind of input or help. And I think, but that's not what this was about. What they were trying to do was, and I always bring up my article at openminds.tv. I don't know anybody else who's laid it out the same with the Chris Mellon's plan to get, UAPs taken so seriously. Their plan was to attack, in a way, challenge the mainstream with the credibility of the topic, which they did, which I think is excellent. And when you get to the UFO community, first of all, you don't need them. You already have. And I think this is what people didn't understand. And I don't think it was expressed thoroughly when it came out either, is they already had the data they needed. They already had their package of credible UAP information in the form of the Nimitz case, the videos that they had, all of the witnesses that they had. They already had their package of data that they were selling to the mainstream, using to push forward their agenda. So they didn't need anything from anybody else. Also, how do you know who's legit and who's not? I think that's really hard. Fortunately, I've got some experience, and there is a little bit of that background, because luckily I knew Tom DeLonge, and he interacted with Open Minds, and the Bigelow guys I've also interacted with. And I wasn't conspiratorial towards them. So that was kind of my inside, but it was a little harder. And I'll explain this to people. But personally, I felt it wise for them to do that, even though the UFO community felt slighted. Now, they continued to feel slighted because there was me. Why was I getting the access and others weren't? And I think it is because, George Knapp was also getting access, although he's a journalist. I think it was just because of the, as people have noted here, and as you all like to do, and you too, Martin, we like to stick to the facts, the credible information. We like to try to substantiate what we're doing here, which is exactly what they were trying to do. So the goals are similar in what we were trying to do. I think. Now, I was part of the group that wasn't given access, even though Tom DeLonge had called me and asked for some input before he launched to the stars and coordinated with me a bit to give me some insight on that. He did not give me access to Lou Elizondo. They were denying me access. Obviously, I'm asking. I want to interview him. Okay, eventually. So I actually
Did they do the same thing they did to me and say he's traveling? Did they say that to you?
No, they didn't use
that one like 5 times.
They did use excuses at times.
Yeah.
But I did kind of an end run and I researched online. I did what anybody could have done. And I found his email address, Luis Elizondo's. And I emailed him because I was very focused. This is what we do in journalism, or what any of us do, even in the UFO community when we're trying to get interviews and stuff. You're great at getting interviews with people that are hard to get. So I was focused. I'm getting Lou. I want Lou. And so I did. I got him. He responded very quickly. And Elizondo's attitude, sorry, I got something in my eye, was different. He wanted to talk to everybody. He's like, and I even told him, hey, would you be interested in speaking at this convention that now my girlfriend owns, because she was pressuring me for that. And to be honest, if I was doing PR for TTSA, I might have done what they did in that respect, as far as access to Lou. And I might have told him, don't do this conference. But Lou was like, yes, I want to meet everybody. I want to talk to everybody. I want to receive questions. And I'm like, dude, you don't realize the UFO community is weird, man. You're going to get some weird questions that have nothing to do with anything you've said or done. And you're going to be like, what are you talking about? But and he's like, I don't care. I want to talk to everybody, answer all the questions. That didn't happen. Eventually we had to do this. I did have to send him some questions. But that's because they videoed this interview that they sent to the UFO Congress, and they asked him the questions that were mostly generated from the audience. A few of them were mine. And someone said I was a bit disappointed, maybe that he didn't go to the UFO Congress. I wasn't disappointed, to be honest, because we had brought Bob Lazar to the UFO Congress before. That was rough. Richard Dolan threatened to beat me up. I mean, at one point at the Lazar thing, which is hilarious. I just laughed, and we laughed.
I would have liked to have seen that. I would have put my money on you, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm no tough guy, but come on, Richard. So that was really funny, but the point was, it was hectic. It was a disaster. And with him saying, at least with Lazar, he was like, we're going to sneak him in the back and then sneak him out. With this, Lou's like, no, I want to meet with everybody. So I'm like, great, I'm going to have to organize all these meetings. That's so funny. This Rick Roberts, because I was just rubbing my eye. He wrote, rub your eye if Luis is a misinformation agent. I'm not rubbing my eye because of that. I got something in my eye.
That's a riot.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So Lou wanted to talk to everybody. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do it organized then. I'm going to organize meetings. Everybody I'm going to tell all the speakers, all the UFO researchers, okay, if you want to meet with Lou, to be organized, I'm going to try to get a room on the side, and we'll hold meetings where you can come and have your own sit down Q&A with Lou, but it'll be you and maybe a dozen other people, because there were so many. I was trying to group it. So then that didn't happen. He wasn't able to come. So I was actually relieved with the video stuff. Christian says, please no Lazar talk tonight. I think we'll be able to keep away from Lizard Talk. We'll see what happens.
That's really funny.
Yeah, we had enough Lizard Talk last time.
Yeah.
But and surprisingly, a lot of people really agree with this. There's more people that agree with us than I thought, actually. There's a lot of people coming out of the woodwork saying that. And it's self-evident. That's, but anyway, so Lou felt differently. Why am I getting to all of this? Well, I got a hold of Lou. I was able to then get some interviews. I got you an interview with Lou. I don't think I got anybody else. I didn't really fight for anybody else to get interviews so much. Behind the scenes, I was fighting for John Greenwald to get an interview, even though John Greenwald started being a total jerk to me. I did want them to talk because I thought nothing but good could come from that. And it did. When they eventually did talk, it was very good. And the interview that John Greenwald recently did with Lou was great too.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
So people get really upset with the TTSA. People hated them at first. The UFO community was so hateful, and it was very shocking and surprising to me. A lot of that hate was aimed at me because they had access to me, and eventually things changed as as time went on. Actions speak louder than words, and really, I think TTSA was putting up. They were doing what they said they were going to do at many levels. And they accomplished something that I think people still has not realized how the significance of what's happened. And we'll get to that towards later on too, because I really want to highlight where we are right now, people. So this is kind of what happened. Meanwhile, everything goes on. Unidentified happens, years pass. UFO community has limited access to Luis Elizondo. Now that the bubbles burst, they kind of accomplished what their main goal was. And Chris and Lou have left to the stars. Now Luis Elizondo is out there doing interviews with everybody. I mean, if you can get a hold of him, people are getting a hold of him on Twitter and say, hey, I want to even get this. And this is going to shock you guys. Even the unidentified celebrity review.
You're kidding me. Lou did it? Lewis?
Yeah.
Luis. Yeah.
So, which is great.
Congratulations.
And I think that's awesome. Yeah. So now he's coming out and talking to everybody. So you would think, oh, everybody should be so happy about this. The UFO community should finally be happy. He's even talking to detractors. He's even interviewing. Well, he did an interview with John Greenwald. He just did an interview with Jimmy Church. These were people who were attacking me, saying, well, how can you stand up for these liars? Why are you supporting their lies? And I wasn't supporting any lies. I was demonstrating the evidence that supported their claims. Their claims had an abundance of credible information that was substantiating Lou's claims. And that's why his claims turned out to be true even years later. And it was the government who was lying or giving misinformation. Surprise, surprise. And weird the UFO community should have such an attitude. But so Lou is even doing interviews with these people who were calling him liar and saying he's part of the disinformation and part of the government and all this crap. But people are still mad. Now they're like, well, why now? Why couldn't they? Why now he's trying to use us? Because now that To the Stars is going down, they're trying to use us to market and get more information and all of this stuff. And it's like, yeah, go ahead.
Well, he was totally under control. Tom DeLonge's sister was basically running the show there as far as who did interviews with who. And she had the reins really tight. So, he wasn't able to get out there and do the interviews. And then the publicist...
you tried the right route. It didn't work for you either. So that's why we had to, with you, do an end run too and go straight to Lou. And then...
Yeah, that's right. Worked with a publicist and that, yeah. My interview with Lou, I'd love to have him back on because I had the biggest meltdown ever in my studio. Everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong. And the same day I rebooted the computer, which I had done, and everything worked fine. But the moment he was on, everything melted down in my studio. It was a disaster. So I will try to invite him back on. Maybe he'll be back.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you should have him back on. There's a couple questions I want to look all. Luis from Unidentified UFOs here. He's thanking you for helping him and us for helping him get the interview. Shawnee is saying, right? Oh well,
you may not want to read.
I'm gonna read it, but
I don't know if they'll do any
Craig
good.
has blocked me from commenting on his channel because I told him to stop spewing his political hatred on Somewhere in the Skies account. I read what Sprague is writing. I disagree that it is political hatred that he is spewing. I think so if you called it that, I think he's completely justified to block you, my friend. No offense. However, you're welcome to stay here and comment as long as we stay away from politics. We're not going to get into politics, so let's try to stay away from that. We may get into the political nature of the Space Force because I want to talk about the Space Force in just a minute. But yeah, Shawnee, sorry, I'm on Sprague's side on this now, but we'll leave it there because let's see. Lou is credibility personified, as is Chris Mellon, John Lynn says. I agree with you there.
Can I answer a question someone put up there for me?
Go ahead.
When you get a chance. So Space Ghost asked me what I thought about my interview I did this week with the Berkshire UFO incident. And since that's up there, I'd like to address that.
Well, let's wait, actually.
Okay, sure.
Let's finish this topic. So make a note so we don't forget, because I want you to
forget that one.
Yeah. We'll do that next. But I just want to finish my thought here just about how people getting mad at Lou right now, even though he's trying to do what's right. This is the evolution of what's happened. This is how it happened. Whatever you want to think, I've got personal insight. I've talked to Lou on a regular basis. Like I've said, I've had some, talk and insight into the background. This is how it happened, and nothing nefarious, nothing crazy. I think what it comes down to, though, part of the issue is that there are a lot of people who get really frustrated. Why do you pay attention to this? Why do you say this is credible and this isn't? Why is it, can't we all say aliens are here and they're bad and they're trying to take over our planet? That's what Dr. David Jacobs says. He's a doctor. He's a historian. You're saying other scientists and professors are saying otherwise, but how are what they're saying any better than what Jacobs is saying? And it all comes down to the evidence. Dr. Avi Loeb, let's take that. Dr. Avi Loeb is an astronomer. He used to run the Harvard Department of Astronomy. He's saying Oumuamua, this thing that came through the solar system's alien. So it's alien. That's done. It's alien. I don't care. These other scientists are saying it's not, but they're just poo-pooing him because we know it's alien. The science says it's alien. No, because you have to substantiate that. You have to demonstrate it. You have to have evidence, and it has to be very strong evidence. Even Avi Loeb in his book said, why do extraordinary claims take extraordinary evidence? It's because, you're trying to prove something that's never been demonstrated before. It's even true if you're trying to break a law of physics, because the laws of physics are not hard laws. They are movable. They're our best guess. That is literally, take this to the bank. Go ask a scientist, what is a law of physics? It's our best guess. It is not a rule. We call it a rule. We call it a law because we treat it that way. But it's our best guess. Given the information we have now, that's what we know. So, that's the game here. And we'll get into Avi Loeb because you were mentioning an interesting article that I posted, and I definitely want to talk about that. But I think that's really what some of us, especially my audience here, some of us need to understand. And what I've noticed lately, even with the politics of late, there are a lot of people out there who just don't see the equivalence. They don't or the inequivalence. They don't understand that, the difference between substantiated information and unsubstantiated information. And as much as we can talk ourselves till we're blue in the face. Those people who don't get it aren't going to get it. And I think that's what this UFO community, a lot of those people in the UFO community, they don't get that. You're not a community sharing truth. You're not. You're a hobbyist. You're a group of people with an interest looking for truth. In some cases, discovering and sharing some truth. But in others, it's just speculation, assumption, And so there's a big difference. A guy was arguing with me this morning. He was saying, I don't know why you think that you're not part of the just like everybody else in the UFO community. Scientists don't care about what you're talking about. They don't care about UFOs. It's not true. And he was talking about banging my head against the wall, marketing, blah blah blah, or even Kevin said something along the lines. And you can clarify yourself, Kevin, if I'm off base here, that I'm fighting for credibility or fighting for to prove that I'm not insane. No, I don't feel that way. I feel that my work can speak for itself, and it does. The reason I've got my relationship with Bigelow, with TTSA, with all of these people is because I've let my work speak for itself. I've tried to be as accurate and fair and honest in my writing, using journalistic standards to bring forth information. And fortunately, there are many government officials, scientists who appreciate what I've been doing. And that has brought me the credibility in their eyes, and that has allowed that access. So why am I telling you this? I could hide this. I could say, this is my secret sauce, guys. This is the secret of my success to get that sort of access the rest of the UFO community wanted. That's what all I did was try to be careful and more rigorous about my work. And that's what it takes. That's how you get people's attention, and you can get their attention that way. And a lot of you are scientists who are watching or listening right now, and that's what you appreciate. So I think those of us who do appreciate that and do understand that you can get people's attention by sharing evidence and facts, there's just a lot of people who don't get that, who don't understand that at all. They feel that, well, Bigelow, this is what's really frustrating about what's happening lately. And we talked about this last week with Lazar and everything. Bigelow is a rich, really rich guy. So his word has to be gold, right? That's gospel. No, he's another guy who has beliefs that he can not substantiate like anybody else. Somebody saw me on History Channel recently, Benjamin. So that's the point I'm getting at. And that's how we come to where we are. That's why Lou is doing what he does. And there is a difference. Lou, and this speaks to Lou's credibility and difference in the way he thinks. In a way, it's less disciplined than like a Chris Mellon. Chris Mellon is more focused and maybe arguably making more headway with government officials and behind the scenes with the Senate and everything because he's so focused. Lou, on the other hand, his nature is to be open and to talk to everybody and work with everybody. And that's what he's doing. So this isn't some master plan. Lou is not a master plan guy. Chris Mellon is, but Lou, there is no master plan that Lou's coming to talk to UFO people now because of this master plan. It's like you said, Martin, it's because now he's not working for TTSA. Now there isn't a gatekeeper. Now he can go talk to everybody, which is what he's always wanted to do.
Interesting.
My hat's crooked. What do you think?
Well, yeah. About your hat, you mean? Yeah. I mean, a lot of when TTSA first started, including myself, there was a lot of confusion. What is it? What are they doing? What is this entertainment aspect of it? And what does that have to do? And why are people investing? What are they investing in? I had all these questions, and it's a lot of it's still a little bit of a puzzle. And then there was, is there misinformation going on here? What is this? What is this are we getting led down another path? That's kind of all the things that I was hearing out there,
Yeah.
So, and now I'm still wondering what's going to happen with that group. I mean, I don't know if you've heard anything about it
with TTSA.
Yeah.
I think they're just going to keep on keeping on. Somebody here said, let's see, Dolene says TTSA, did they not start working with the Navy? Maybe that's why Lou left. Well, no, they've attempted to work with the military the entire time. Lou has encouraged that. Lou is currently still doing at least some freelance with the government. So as far as I understand. So he may go back to a full-time job with the government. Which isn't a problem. He's always been loyal to his colleagues. And he's always spoken positively about his former colleagues in the military. So he has no problem working with the military. Why did he leave? I think it was just the problems, I felt from the beginning that I definitely shared, is that they all had different agendas. Tom had a different agenda. Steve Justice had a different agenda. Chris and Lou had a different agenda. So it was like a conglomerate of a bunch of people doing different things, coming in an office together with some ties in with what they're doing, but very little. And it just dissolved because there wasn't, with any organization, you need a mission statement. And it seems cheesy. You hear this at work all the time, our mission statement, our mission statement. Well, it's important at the higher levels, because when you're, at that higher level, you need a mission statement so that you have a focus for your company to always strive for. So when you're creating projects, when you're creating teams, you're thinking, does this fit our mission? Is this taking us in the direction we're supposed to be going? And if it does, then you go for it. So that's why mission statements are really, and I don't think we ever really had a mission statement from To the Stars. So there wasn't really a game plan that they were all bought into and on board to head. Instead, they're all heading in different directions, and that just wasn't tenable. At one point, Chris and Lou had to say, well, you guys are doing your thing, we're doing our thing. Why don't we just kind of do our own thing separately? And that's what happened.
That's a really good point. I never thought about that. I think it would have cleared up a lot of things if they did have a strong goal that they, published. They were trying to do. Yeah.
So I've got some more stuff. Let's see. I'm reviewing what people are talking about. So I don't see anything there. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about. It's just really interesting out there how there's just people who want to hate. And there's that too, of course, on the internet. And these are the like Stan Friedman used to say, noisy negativists, because they're really loud and they talk a lot, and you get flooded. So all of that negativity towards Lou, because he's trying to talk to everybody in the UFO community, is just shocking. So I just wanted to kind of clarify it for people. And when you hear these messages, oh, Lou's coming to us now because he can use us for this or that, or he's got some grand plan and tricking us. No, it's just those of you who have heard our interviews, mine and Martin's, I've had a few now. He's just a very open guy. And he's just he wants to share. Yeah, Louis says haters gonna hate. So, and by the way, Louise from Unidentified Celebrity Review is interviewing Lou soon. So if you have questions, if you want to challenge Lou, if you're like, I'm going to catch him, I'm going to ask this question, I'm going to catch him and he's fooling us, and that, ask your question, because Lou will listen to it and he will answer your question. And then you can see whether you're satisfied or not.
Well, he'll also let you know, you talked about how he can go back to work for the government. That's because he's never broken his security. I mean, he's never talked about classified things. He can get right up to it, but he hasn't crossed that line.
No, he hasn't crossed the line. I think he's a bit of a whistleblower in that he shared information that they didn't intend to get out. They didn't want out, but it wasn't classified information. So it was perfectly legal for him to do it. And he's always said, the reason I don't share more information is because it's not my information. It belongs to other people. And as he's thinking, I don't want to upset these people. I don't want to share unclassified information, even if I can legally, that's going to upset my friends or mess up what they're doing, because he's thinking of his friends on the inside.
Yeah.
Let's see. Somebody's criticizing me. Elizondo, a very open guy. You can't be serious. I'm totally serious. Are you kidding? If Lou wasn't an open guy, we would not know about ATIP, and we would not know that the Pentagon had a program investigating UAPs and the 5 steps, everything. We wouldn't know any of that if Lou wasn't an open guy. So I am absolutely not kidding. Who would, I'm not sure. CL, if you could clarify, because I like to answer questions too. CL says, Alejandro, big fail. It happened. I'm not sure what the big fail was, but let me know and I'll address that. So, ATIP was a Las Vegas project? No, not really. I guess in a way, in that it was a Las Vegas company that was contracted to do most of the work, but the project was a Pentagon project.
Oh, I see what he meant by that. Where Bigelow was, you mean?
Yeah, that's where Bigelow was and his company, and they did most of the work. Yeah, so let's move on. So, who would win in a fight, Lou or DeLong? DeLong's tall, but he's skinny. I'm not sure if he works out.
Lou is a bulldog. I mean, I wouldn't want to go against him for anything.
You know what? I think Lou could win up against a Jeep Wrangler. I mean, he is freaking solid.
Yeah. You shake his hand, it's like,
I think a more interesting question, who would win between Elizondo and Joe Rogan? Because doesn't Rogan is WWF guy, right? Yeah, that'd be an interesting one. Yeah, maybe that'll be our question for Luis, if he thinks he can take Rogan. He can see, you could even say Alejandro
wants money on the table.
Beat up Joe Rogan if you got in a fight. He won't like that question. I know it.
I don't think so.
But that's okay. It'd be funny anyway. Okay, so let's move on. That I just wanted to talk about that because it's a weird thing going on in the UFO community, and I wanted to be sure that you all were clear how we actually got here, how this all came about, so you understood. Oh, that's why Lou's talking to so many people in the UFO field now. And if you are a UFO podcaster, get a hold of him on Twitter because he'll probably come on your podcast. So, Martin, Berkshires. Go for it.
Yeah. So someone asked way up near the top. I won't be able to get it. What did I think about my guess?
You have to give us background on what the Berkshires is, too.
Okay. The Berkshires UFO. Actually, I knew it for years. For those of you who are not familiar with it, I've known it for years as the Reed family, the Tom Reed family, UFO incident. That's all I knew it. And then, the Unsolved Mysteries comes out last year, the first season on the Netflix. And episode 5, I think it was, the Berkshires UFO. And I watched that and I go, oh my God, all these people are involved. So many people were involved. And what wild stories. And I think Netflix did a wonderful job with that. So it's really something that happened back in September 1st, 1969 in the Berkshires area. But it could go, maybe people have seen it all the way to Long Island and all the way up toward Lake Champlain. There's been a lot of talk about that over the years. There's been a lot of witnesses, but it's a strange thing because, this one guy they witnessed, he was a little kid. He was 10 years old running outside, Tom Warner, and a beam of light came down, and with a witness, they saw him in the beam of light move his arms back and he was gone. And then, and he remembers the whole thing. And it's really a wild story, a lot wilder than I ever knew it would be to begin with. And then I had Melanie Kirchdorfer on last week, and she's a very, very nice lady. And her story was really quite amazing. She was in a car at the lake and with her family and basically gone out of the car. Family drove home. They don't really remember anything. Her mother never left the door unlocked. The door was unlocked. She came in at dawn when she was released or whatever happened. Anyway, I guess the question boiled down to, what did I think of the guest? I thought she was a very, very nice lady. I thought she was completely sincere. What happened to her and all the events that happened in her life, I do believe that she believes they happened, because you and I have talked about this before. Sometimes someone can really get me going and I want to hang up with them, or I want nothing to do with them because I think they're just BSing. I don't think this woman's BSing at all. I think she believes everything that she talked about. I don't know if what she talked about really happened or not. I can't be the judge of that, but I certainly believe that she does believe it, and is very credible in other ways. So I think it's kind of for the listener, the watcher, or whatever, to take out of it what they want to. But and she doesn't claim they're aliens. She never claims that. And but whatever happened to her was pretty bizarre. I'll tell you, it's quite a story.
Yeah, we've got some people in the chat who saw your interview and they loved it. They thought it was great. I'm gonna love to answer this question coming up, but I want to finish with this Berkshire thing. Yeah, a lot of people saying she was an amazing guest, that it was really incredible. So a lot of people had seen it. So people could go listen to your interview.
Yeah, it's up on YouTube.
Yeah. Your latest interview.
Oh, and by the way, she has these weird things happen to her, and I witnessed it. Is that she like blows things up? I mean, her computer all of a sudden just went like that while we were talking. I have no idea. Her husband doesn't let her go into his office because things blow up like light bulbs and all kinds of stuff. It's strange.
Really weird. So the other thing is Luis, clarify this, and I'm sorry if you already interviewed Luis. I
did, but I had a meltdown during my complete studio meltdown.
No, Luis. From Unidentified.
Oh yes, I was in his show. I was on his show. Yes.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Interviewed Luis.
Oh, he already interviewed.
Already did.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess he. Sorry. Put the link in here because I didn't see it yet. I'm definitely gonna watch that this evening. I didn't realize that. I thought it was upcoming still. I've been a mess. We'll get into this. Stuff's been crazy in my life. But thank you very much, Luis. Oh, the question I'm excited to answer.
Oh, yeah. What is that?
Somebody put it in all caps, which is cool. If you have a question, put maybe Q at the beginning and you can put it on all caps because that'll help me find it easier. So
Wilson Keek.
Jeffrey King says, whatever happened with the Wilson Keek documents? Anything, or is it just BS? And then someone
means leak. Yeah.
Yeah,
I have a little opinion about that too.
Christian tries to give me this history. Christian, I've been writing about this stuff for years. If you read my articles, you'll get clarification on all of this other stuff, or my interviews with Lou Elizondo. Way behind, but I'm going to address some of the stuff Christian says here. Because I love all my audience. But Louis interviewed Louise. Well, Louise is another way to say Louis. That's in fact in the Spanish it's Luis Elizondo. And I bet Luis goes by Luis here too, and unidentified.
Yeah, so it's Luis interviewed Luis
too.
Yeah.
So anyway, what happened with the Wilson leak documents? What happened with those documents? Here's why I'm really excited to talk about this. Is exactly what I said. What happened? Nothing. And people get there are some people in UFO Twitter. This is one of the UFO Twitter fails, of which there are many. And I do not trust UFO Twitter and whatever UFO Twitter gets excited about. For the most part, when UFO Twitter gets really excited, they get excited over something that's a huge nothing burger. So,
and can you just clarify something to the possibly new listener out there? They may think UFO Twitter is actually a person's name, but you're talking about people in the UFO Twitter world,
like people on Twitter that consider themselves UFO Twitter. So if you're on Twitter talking about UFOs, you'll see this term UFO Twitter a lot, even the hashtag UFO Twitter. And so that's what I'm talking about. It's definitely nothing definitive, but there's somewhat a group of people who were involved with the beginning. And the Wilson documents was a big thing. The Wilson document is it's a set of notes. It's not even a document per se. It's notes that were taken, that were leaked to the public. There are notes that, in this particular case, that Edgar Mitchell had, that when he passed away, people got a hold of his records and they leaked these to the public. These notes are allegedly Dr. Eric Davis's notes from meeting an admiral, Admiral Wilson, who had told him he looked into UFOs and crashes and stuff and was blocked. They told him, you don't have access to any of this. And he was really upset about it. Allegedly, this conversation happened when, and it begins with Wilson saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe that person. I'm so mad at our mutual friend who got this meeting together because he revealed information he shouldn't have. But despite that, and because I don't know you at all, I'm going to share all of my deepest, darkest secrets with you, stranger." Allegedly. It's ridiculous. The stuff in the notes are ridiculous. The person who allegedly wrote the notes, Dr. Eric Davis, says no comment. I've asked him personally, no comment. Admiral Wilson has been asked. He said, no, that conversation never happened. I wasn't even in Las Vegas when that allegedly happened. There are no records to show he was in Las Vegas at that time. And however, there are people in this community who say they believe it's real. They were shown these notes when it happened. They believe these notes were accurate in what they were saying. I think they're ridiculous. There's nothing substantiating anything in there. However, I don't think Dr. Eric Davis is a liar. But there's no way to substantiate it. It's just unsubstantiated rumor and hearsay yet again. Nobody related to this document is talking about anything. People said that this was going to be a big New York Times release. It wasn't.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. So nothing happened with them. Is anything going to happen with them? Probably not, unless somebody could substantiate anything in them, which they can't. Everybody's asked all of the people and they can't. So
there was a lot of people hanging their hat on that.
A lot. And a lot of people saying all of these different things. So,
I was in contact with someone in Australia that knew I can't remember his name, the first person that supposedly went through the notes and the files at Edgar Mitchell's estate. And was it Twitchell? Is that the name? No, I don't know. Anyway, they're totally convinced, and I've had the discussion or debate about it with this person. It's amazing how it's another like faction, it seems, in a way.
Yeah, and this is what happens though with belief systems. It's like religion. There are people who glom on to an idea and they believe that this has got to be the key to everything, and then they create these groups where they're just blind faith, drives them and their loyalty and commitment to an idea. Of course, we've seen that with tragic results recently. But with this Wilson document, that happens, and that'll continue to happen. But I'm telling you guys, I've been in this literally decades, people. I've seen these kind of groups come and go on a regular basis. And what often happens with these groups? Nothing. Zero. And, some of you are saying, well, George Knapp believes it. Richard Dolan believes it. I don't care if they believe it. George Knapp believes Lazar's legit. And don't get me wrong. These are literally people I love. These are people who are friends. They're great. I love George. I love Richard. But if they were sitting right here and this happens, and they said, oh, said this about this and that, I would say no. In fact, it became a really awkward moment, and I was trying to avoid the subject a year ago when I went to Maui with Dolan, and he brought it up on the beach, and we're in this beautiful beach in Maui. And I'll tell you what, the conversation did not end well. It was awkward. We just had to say, well, let's kind of like pick this up later or something. And then we had to go and lighten up, essentially. So, I mean, I just don't want to waste my time with any of this unsubstantiated rumor and hearsay. Unless you can validate it. Some people did do things like get a hold of Admiral Wilson or do some research to find out, was he in Vegas at this time? Who was in Vegas when? I interviewed John Alexander and talked to him about this because he lives in Vegas and he knows all of these people. So in other words, a lot of research has been done and nothing has come up. research on this document has been going on for decades, and nothing substantial has come up from them at all. So why will it in the future? Probably not, especially when the key players are denying it or not talking about it. And even if Eric Davis was to come out and say something, unless he can prove it, this is probably why Eric Davis didn't want the document out in the first place, because he can't prove it. It's interesting. It's background information for them and us to do some research. And even for me, it's background information for me to review. Is there anything here I can go prove? Or are there any clues here? We can use it like that. But to state that it's real and base everything we're doing and make that it's real, we can't substantiate that. It's foolish and it's not good research, and you're just going to chase your tail and get nowhere with it. If you want to keep doing that, fine. I'm not. So go for it.
And it's funny when in a situation like this, if someone asked the admiral if he was there, and he said no, he wasn't, and then immediately they're saying, oh, of course he would say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
John Greenwald makes a big point of that it's just so hilarious because, when they acknowledge it, then, oh, great. But when they deny it, oh, of course they would deny it.
Yeah.
Him denying it proves that it's real.
That's right.
Because he would deny it.
Yeah.
It's just really silly, poor, weak logic. It's not the type of, this is exactly what I'm getting back to, guys. Yeah. And, a lot of people were frustrated with me. Certainly, they think I poo-poo a lot of stuff. When I told them there's not going to be a New York Times article about the Wilson documents, it's not happening. So people got so mad at me for saying,
"Oh, me too."
And it was true. We were right.
Yeah. I was getting attacked. As a matter of fact, well, I don't want to get into it, but I was getting attacked.
What I was saying before, we just have to be careful. We have to be careful, and we have to substantiate the stuff that we write about. If you want to be compelling, it comes back to debate class. And this is what's really frustrating. And this is why I don't understand why people don't get it. Debate class. When you were in debate class, when you were writing essays in high school, you had to substantiate your claims. You had to have references and sources. It's the same thing. That's what you need.
Speaking of that, there is a.
Yeah, I was saying, you said there wasn't going to be a New York Times article, period. It has nothing to do with that's not true. That's not true completely. CL brings up a good point, and this was you were involved with this too, Martin. That Leslie Kean said that there wasn't going to be an article. But when I stated that, she actually sent me an email, and she said that's not accurate. She says, I feel so bad. I hope Martin doesn't feel like I'm lying to him. Yeah. She said something like, that's not going to be in the article. I forgot. The way she worded it made it sound like there was not going to be an article, but it wasn't what she intended. She was being.
I'm going to pull up what she wrote me a couple of times, but you go ahead. I'm going to see if I can. Because she had a way of wording it, and yeah.
So there you go. But my point is, there wasn't going to be one about the Wilson documents, and there wasn't, dude. And seriously, I was told by Leslie Kean that there wasn't going to be an article, and that's not necessarily what I was told. Martin's going to bring it up. So it alluded to it. So I believe that. But then, of course, Blumenthal had leaked that he was working on something. My point was, they are working on something. I knew they were working on something. They had been working on something. They're always working on something. I just knew Wilson documents was not going to be it. And to be honest, I was surprised how far they went with talking about potential crash situations, but I was also a bit disappointed because it was all just rumor and hearsay, and I don't think that they framed it accurately, to be honest. I think that they should have framed it in that manner. What did they reveal? They revealed what I revealed to you all in my interview with Eric Davis. I think it was the first where he told me there were these crashes and blah, blah, blah. But I asked, well, how did you come about this information? Rumor and hearsay is what he said, talking with the guys around the water cooler. Now, the guys he's talking to are government contractors. So that does bring a bit of a higher degree, but it doesn't substantiate it at all. It's still rumor or hearsay. Rumor or hearsay is rumor or hearsay. And in my experience, now you all, and some people may say, wow, they're government contractors. That really substantiates it. Not really, because in my experience over the decades, there are contractors are just anybody. A lot of people, a lot of military people are just as as susceptible to falling for rumors and hearsay as anybody else. So that does not substantiate it.
May I read? I want to read.
Please do.
Yeah. So June 19th, I wrote Leslie a little chit chat first, and then there was a rumor going around the New York Times is going to have another breaking news article. I know that if it's so and you are involved, you cannot talk about the details, and I respect that. I just wondered if you can tell me if it's just a rumor or may there be something to it. Hope you're well, blah, 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 Martin. And then her reply back, are you ready? Martin, nothing to report. Leslie. And so eventually she did write me, when the article came out. And she said, I'm really, really sorry. And,
Yeah. So she said nothing to report, which we translated as, no, I'm not writing a story. But what she told me later was what she meant by nothing to report was that there's nothing I can share at this time. That's what so if she would have said there's nothing I can share at this time, which she tells me all the time, actually, when I peg her on different stuff, that's probably what she should have said. And that's what she said, because then we would have known, oh, she just can't share. And then we also could have said, which isn't a bad thing, maybe they are working on something. We'll see. That's exciting. But we knew she was working on something. But I still would have said, guys, it's not going to be about the Wilson documents. If anything, they're going to poo-poo it because there's just not enough there. And the contents are really silly.
And they were really upset.
Me, and I want to answer this question too. Would a second source of the notes at least prove that NIDS had discussed the story at the time? I don't care. I do believe that NIDS discussed the story at the time. I believe that a lot of people did. And I believe that some NIDS people, Bigelow, Eric Davis, Hal Puthoff, I believe that they may all believe those notes and everything that's in those notes. I disagree with them, and I disagree with them on several things. But like I said, so what? I still love Bigelow. I still Hal Puthoff. I mean, what these guys have done, they're heroes of mine. But what they say is not gospel. I tell this to Lou. Don't say it unless you can prove it. And if you say it, prove it. Because otherwise you're just speculating and spinning your wheels like everybody else. Louis says loves when I get honoring. But I mean, so and I tell Lou that. I disagree with Lou, and I tell Lou, don't say that. If you can't prove it, don't say it. Because if he says something, I'll say substantiate it. What do you mean prove it? Because that's what we're here for. I'm not here to get any inside knowledge, alleged inside knowledge. I'm here to find facts and evidence and share it with you all, the audience, so we can all learn and grow together and really move forward. So prove it. And I tell that to Bigelow, to any of them, prove it. George, prove it. Love you guys, but prove it. And just because NIDS was talking about it back then doesn't prove it. I do want to say too, this is really shocking because we got in kind of a debate earlier today, but thank you, Kevin, for putting in the tip here. Luis is really good. Luis reminds me, be sure to thank people when they tip you in your thing. And you can do this tip thing in here on YouTube, I guess. So thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, super chat.
See, I think, and I do want to clarify because CL is debating me on this right now, which is fine because I think I want to make sure people understand my perspective. But CL says, you're saying it's not worth investigating. Davis cannot be telling the truth and not be telling the truth at the same time. That doesn't even make sense. First of all, Davis hasn't spoken on this issue at all yet. So we don't know what Davis has to say about this.
He talked a little bit in the article, but not directly about the Wilson, never about the Wilson.
Right. So currently, to my knowledge, Davis does tell the truth. Davis also told me about these rumors. Just because he heard things around the water jug that I don't believe are real doesn't mean he was lying. He probably really had those conversations around the water jug. I don't think he's a liar. I think he's experiencing things. It doesn't mean that, it's just like any of us. Doesn't mean that it's all accurate. We're wrong all the time. I'm wrong all the time. I shouldn't say we. Sorry, Martin. But I'm wrong all the time.
No, we're wrong all the time. Okay.
Ben says, put up for shut up. Exactly. So, no, I don't think. Now, if Davis were to come out and talk about, we'll see. We'll see if Davis comes out and talks about the Wilson documents. Until he does, we don't know what he thinks. I think if history holds true, when and if Davis does come out and talk about those documents, we will all be shocked and we'll get more information. And I'm sure there will be stuff there we'll be surprised about. So we don't know yet. So we'll have to wait and find out. CL says, so it's not worth researching? I'm certainly not saying that. I'm not saying it's not worth researching. I'm saying it's not wise or appropriate even to laud this as something that is real and legit until we substantiate that. Like I said earlier, it is something to use for research.
People have dove into that deeply. I mean, it was
for years.
The complete focus of Richard Dolan's show, like week after week for a long time. Wow, look at all these people popping in their dollars to, isn't that?
I know. Thank you. Thank you, Luis. And thank you, Simone, for the tip. But you've got a great point there. Dolan has had this document and Grant Cameron have had this document for a long time, like a decade. I really feel like, I can't remember when, I feel like I dismissed it the first time I saw it, but I feel like I saw it years ago and thought, this is silly. And didn't pay much attention to it because there's nothing I could do. And how would I handle that document if it were handed to me? Like I did, look it over, read it in detail, which I've done. Look for anything that I may be able to substantiate. Talk to people who may be able to substantiate it, like John Alexander, of which I did much of that online because I try to do that on the show here. So you all can hear me interview these guys and you can hear their answer firsthand. So I brought these people in and looked into what I could look into, and there was nothing there. There's just nothing that substantial I can get a hold of, nor is there anything substantial anyone else has gotten a hold of. So, Brian, thank you very much. Also, there are a couple of people. I'm going to need you to entertain people for just a second because I want to run and grab something.
Oh, sure. Okay.
But I owe t-shirts to Luis and CL, and I can't even remember why I decided to do this t-shirt giveaway. I've got them here. I was going to send them pictures, but since they're both here, I'm going to show it to them.
Wow, look at this one.
Wow.
Boy, maybe we want to just keep doing. Why don't we just keep doing this show for like another couple of hours?
And I was kind of grouchy to Christian. So I'm going to get back to you, Christian.
Because now you know that works.
I didn't mean to snap at you. You're asking a lot of course, those questions I think are fascinating questions, Christian. Also, Security 10. There's a couple more questions I want to answer, but I'll be right back. Do you need a topic to speak on, or do you have something to talk about?
No, I'll look through I'll look through here.
Okay.
Okay. So Lee is asking, is the new third phase of the Moon team and panel discussion format relevant in today's ufology? Now, I wasn't aware of the new third phase of the Moon team, and my opinion of the old team, whatever they were, is it's a money machine. That's what I mean. You look at the amount of subscribers, and they're always having fresh videos. I think, from what I understand, there are some good videos that come through there, but for the most part, a lot of what they do is CGI and hoax. And I hate to say that, but unfortunately, there's Secure Team 10 and Third Phase of the Moon. There's a few others that unfortunately are kind of hoaxes. I was asked this question from someone that emailed me and said, "Hey, what's a good channel to watch on YouTube?" And I can only say beware of what you're watching on YouTube, because with technology growing the way it is, you got to just be really careful, because there's so many things out there that look really, really good. I get sent things probably 2 or 3 videos a week, it seems, through Facebook. I'm not on Facebook actively. My podcast is, but not myself. anyway, I get a lot of videos sent to me, and a lot of them, look like something that can be explained possibly if I had more information. But that's not what I do, really. I'm not a person that goes through videos and tries to do the research on them.
Is awful. Security Team 10's fake videos.
So no, they were asking. There's a new third phase of the moon panel, and discussion panel, and they just wondered if they're relevant in ufology today. And I'm not familiar with them, but they do not have the best reputation.
Yeah, they're fakers. They've faked. I wouldn't trust them. They've never shown any, in my opinion, interest in looking at substantial information or credible information. They've actively hoaxed and promoted hoaxes. So I doubt. Yeah, they're in it for the money. I don't, like Dolene says, I don't think. But anyway,
could make several thousand a week on YouTube.
So you guys can buy these t-shirts still, but this is what I was going to send you, Luis, and I couldn't find it. I think I set them aside at my house in California. I have some here, so don't worry. And
Luis won a t-shirt on my show too. And
what?
I said Luis from Unidentified.
You sent him a t-shirt?
Well, I mean, I ordered one for him. He probably doesn't have it because no one's getting their t-shirts from the company I'm using.
Oh, no. But yeah, Luis, I'm going to send you one of those. Hope that's cool. That's really, I think, the only one I have in your size. And then for the other guy in here, who was it? It was my Canadian buddy. He was just bugging me. You were just bugging me. Where's my t-shirt?
Kristen? Was it?
No, it's the guy who's in here all the time. Anyway, I'll be sending you. It's the gray. I wear it a bit. It's got just the Open Minds logo on the front, and it's a real comfy gray t-shirt. So that's what I'll be sending you, unless you don't want that one. I don't have as many sizes for Luis, so I'll send you this one. And then Tim Brigham says his wife won a t-shirt and didn't get it. That's true. I'm gonna yell at Karen. She won it at the UFO Congress. Tim, send me an email with information on where to send this. Well, you guys are just down in Tucson, huh? Anyway, send me the email and where to send it, and I will send you that t-shirt. That was supposed to be Karen. I don't know what happened there, why you didn't get it, but I'll get it. Yeah, Tim Brigham, he was one of the speakers at the UFO Congress, and at the dinner,
I thought I recognized him. Yeah, hey, Tim. How are you, Tim?
So, yeah, and you know what? Let me do another one. Okay, we'll do another t-shirt giveaway, and you can tell me, do you want an Open Minds logo, or do you like this one? I like this one.
I like that one a lot.
You guys probably see me wearing this one a lot. No, Tim, I want to get you your t-shirt. Okay, here's the question.
Uh-oh. Is this an awkward silence?
Here's the question.
Okay.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
You talking to me?
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
Okay.
This will be for, I'm going to let Martin choose. Here's the question. What does Martin think of Stephen Greer? Put your answer in the chat, and the best answer or two, Martin will choose, and you win a t-shirt. I'll send it to you. Even though
interesting,
we're not actually sending out the t-shirts. I'll do that this week. I'll send out these t-shirts. I might not send it out expeditiously, but I'll send it out. Okay. A couple other things then. I did want to talk about, first of all, I wanted to bring this up. Well, there was a story about the Black Vault and the CIA that we never really touched upon. Martin's loving these. I love watching your reaction as you read what people are writing. And we'll tell you guys there who are listening on the podcast in just a minute. But Martin's like really enjoying it. He's laughing and stuff. So we'll read out these answers to you guys and listening in just a minute. But yeah. So I don't know if I spoke to this or not. I just, John Greenwald is always doing amazing work at theblackvault.com. He gets FOIA documents using the Freedom of Information Act and then shares those. One thing he's done is gotten a lot of the CIA documents and shared those. Now, the CIA themselves have released a lot of that information. And so what Black Vault did is that he took all of those files and turned them into searchable PDFs and then shared them on his website. And then everybody got it wrong. All of a sudden, there's all these headlines. CIA releases their UFO files just before the Senate's going to release some UFO information. That's not what happened at all. So a lot of people got that wrong. So just for clarification, what John Greenwald did is awesome. Unfortunately, it's not like, the CIA sent him documents that nobody else has or something like just, or released all their files through him. That's not how it worked. But there's that story. And then finally, I guess I'll wrap it up with, are they done with your answers?
Yeah, I think so. And it's going to be hard to choose from them.
Really? Okay. Yeah. I'll give you more time. I'm going to look
at
some of this though. I'm going to look at some of these answers. Someone wrote charlatan.
There's a real funny one.
Luis says you should do this every week. Next week, Lazar.
I know. Look at the T-shirts behind you. Mike got 1,000 of them.
These aren't mine though. These are Karen's.
Well, she goes to sleep at night. You know where to sneak.
Mike Pingleton says Martin's too nice to say what he really thinks. He's actually. This is in one case where Martin shares his opinion pretty harshly. You even made a little video. Did you take that down?
I did, and it's my YouTube channel must have been hacked. We talked about this because that video disappeared. I never got a notice on it.
It was this video making fun of him.
Yeah, so I did. Yeah,
greedy, strong dislike is what Turk said. Lost profit. Rodrigo says lost profit. That's funny. That's funny because I know he's being sarcastic. Martin likes Greer's gusto, but doesn't like the fact he keeps crying in his documentaries.
That is really funny, I think.
He's a shyster, full of baloney. Great guy should keep his opinions to himself. If Martin's a great guy, why do you want him to keep his opinions to himself? Because they're not like yours? I think that's BS. I want to hear his opinions because he is a great guy. Sociopath. I want one of Martin's UFO paintings. Megalomaniac. Didn't Greer push Nibiru stuff, or I'm confusing him? I don't know. He might have a one time. He's all over the place. Martin thinks Stephen Greer is a conundrum wrapped in a riddle. Interesting one. And let's see what else we got.
Well, I do have to pick one because I mean, there's some really great ones, everyone, and I really appreciate them all. I really do. But this guy kind of says it the best way, or person says it the best way. TJS was respectable, but now has fallen from grace. I think that's a very good way of saying my opinion, and a very kind way of saying my opinion.
There we go.
Yeah.
See? So, Martin, you could still be a nice guy, but say what you think. I love that Mark Pingleton. That's my favorite. Martin's too nice to say what he really thinks. Was respectable. I've got it on the screen, but now has fallen from grace. I think that's how I would put it.
Yeah. Maybe. But because he's a sociopath and he's greedy.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I like that. That's cool. Okay.
I'm not so nice.
Someone said something really mean. I'm not going to go there. All right. That's a good one. Good one. Finn says, Greer has done good work. I usually just leave it at that. Yeah. I do warn people, though, because don't give him thousands of dollars, guys, unless you're the type of person who likes abuse or likes to have a master or something like that, because he'll just tell you what to believe and what to think. And I don't know. That's never a comfortable situation.
Well, you can take pictures with him in his invisible UFO for some money. Right. Yes. Which I thought was that's pretty good. There's a UFO right here. And let's have a picture. Yeah. That's one of his things he actually did.
Luis says,
and he is ripped. I'll tell you. Yes, he is ripped.
That's what your video
for his shirt. Yeah.
focus on.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So let's wrap up. To wrap up, though, here's what I want to kind of talk about. What size is the Open Mind poster? Oops, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Hey, how are you going to get the information to get a T-shirt to
TJS? Yeah, TJS. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, TJS, email me. You can go to Open Minds and fill out the thing there, or you can email me at openmindsufonews@gmail.com. So openmindsufonews@gmail.com. We've got so many Open Minds addresses, but that one will work. Or you could use my personal. Well, I won't give that out.
Don't give it out.
My personal anymore. I used to do that. But in my podcast, I have Alejandro T. Rojas at protonmail.com. So you could use that also if you want to be secure. Send it in a secure. Send me Alejandro T. Rojas at protonmail.com.
Tim says below, you like to get them out, those T-shirts out. He's teasing you because he's still waiting.
Yeah, that's funny. That's. Oh, wrap up. So the wrap up is this. First of all, I've got changes. As you guys have known, COVID is going on. Things are changing like crazy. TJS has got it. He loves both of our shows. Thank you. Both of our shoes. Thank you very much. So things are changing again. At the beginning of the pandemic, I figured there's all these new tools. Maybe I'll be able to grow Open Mind and, grow it into something bigger. That didn't really happen. But I want to thank all of you who did subscribe to my Patreon and to the YouTube. It was really, really helpful. And it did give me an idea of, just how much is out there. I think the deal with credible UFO information, just not many people want that. And that's okay. Even if you look at organizations like this SSE, the Scientific Society for Society for Scientific Exploration, really all scientists looking into more fringe topics. They're not that popular, but what they're doing is amazing, absolutely amazing. They're doing science around some of the paranormal and fringe stuff that other people won't touch. And I think that's great. I think this niche, those of you who are listening, who really care about the credibility of the topic and substantiating the information and the rigor on figuring this out, it's not as much entertainment. Of course, Martin and I try to make it entertaining, but it is more, grounded. It's a little more tougher because it's harder to get to the truth and reality, where it's easier just to speculate, and it's more fun just to speculate. So I get it. If you love ancient aliens, a lot of people love ancient aliens, a lot of scientists. In fact, I did an Alien Con talk just a couple of weeks ago. I hosted an Alien Con panel with for The Proof Is Out There. And next week, I'm going to be on another panel with Nick Pope for the Alien Con. So keep an eye out for that. I'll be sending those links out soon. It's free. It's going to be Nick Pope and myself. I'm not sure who else is going to be on this panel. We're going to talk about government UFO stuff. So please join us. So if you love ancient, that's great. That's cool. There's a place for everybody. But I'm really going to I'm ramping up now my other business efforts, and it's going to hamper what I can do in this arena. So I'm giving you a preview now, and I'll have more information maybe in a week, but I want to keep doing this Friday show. So I'm going to keep doing this show. Anything beyond that, I can't guarantee. And of course, I have lots of friends and people in this field who want me to interview them when they have something come up, and I'll try to get to that stuff as much as I can. So that's what's kind of going on in my world and where we're evolving to. So I know a lot of you love talking every week. We've got tons of people listening to the podcast. So I'll keep the podcast going. I just might have to kind of trim back some of the other stuff. If you have questions about that, or what does that mean, or you're concerned for some reason because you're a subscriber, let me know. And I will address that. And, send me questions and I'll get back.
Well, I'll ask you a question.
Yeah.
So if you do this thing on Friday, are you going to have me on all the time, or are you thinking of bringing in guests to change things out?
Oh, geez, I didn't want to do this live,
We'll talk
but
about it. We'll talk about it after.
but Martin, you're
The pink
fired.
slip. All
No,
right.
just kidding.
Get
I
it
want
to
to
me
keep
in
it like
writing.
this.
I want severance, buddy.
No, I don't know how I'll do the interviews yet. So maybe I'll do those offline. And now that we have an ability to do that with this tool, I can play them during the show. I don't know. That's a great question. And I haven't figured that completely out yet. I kind of feel like I want to do it like we're doing now, where we talk about just question and we take questions on Fridays. And then I do the interviews throughout the week whenever I can get those in. So
Yeah,
I probably will keep it like that because that works pretty good. So we'll see.
You have a great chat. You have great questions in the chat.
Yeah. I mean, you guys do ask great questions and it's so fun to answer all of your questions. And I do want to tell you, because most of our people are listening on the podcast. And if you are listening on the podcast, feel free to send us your questions. If you're like, man, I wish I could be there live because I'd love to get in on the conversation, then do send me information and we will get answers. But I also want to talk about how I got here from what my goals were and where we are. By the way, Luis from Unidentified Celebrity Review says, spoiler alert, Luis Elizondo is on board for the big phone home. Yeah, well, I want to make I want to talk more about the big phone home, where we're going to actually help facilitate people getting a hold of lawmakers and DOD to tell them we want more information on UAP. So we're going to talk about that. We'll talk maybe more next week because this is an effort that the Unidentified Celebrity Review, Luis, is heading up. Great idea. So I really want to support that. So we'll get more into how we're going to support that. In fact, the SCU has come up with a letter as well to do the same thing that the SCU is going to be sending out soon. That's a Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies. And I want to kind of pull from that letter that we just wrapped up. I think it just got finalized. So that's kind of the next effort coming up here. But my goal, when I got involved with this, I was a journalism student. And I saw that there was a lot of credible information, that UFOs were not something just to laugh about, that there were military people, that Book, that government officials and military people and very important people in the private sector were taking this topic very, very seriously, and that there were incidents that were hard to dismiss that indicate that there could be something that a technology, that we're observing that is beyond what we could do ourselves. And I felt that it was a very credible topic. So what did I want to do? I wanted to apply journalistic standards to bring this evidence forth, to put UFOs where they should be. We don't know what they are. That's what unidentified stands for. That's what they use for. But we do know it's a real phenomenon that the military takes seriously. That's what TTSA accomplished. That's what Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon accomplished. They did that. They were able to take this to that next level. And now what I always had hoped to happen has happened. And we're on this new plateau. We're on this new plane that is heads above where we were before. Now, UFOs are legit. It's something that we can talk about. It's something that science is talking about. It's something that Avi Loeb is talking about. It's legit. And so that's happened. And I just kind of feel like now we're in a different world. Now that we've moved to this legit world, which is where my goal was to get to, now what's the story? I feel now the story is more integrated with space policy, with defense policy, with science and academia and how that operates. And of course, that's been my focus with interviewing people like Chris Mellon, Luis Elizondo, Adam Kehoe, who's been writing articles along these lines, and some of these new people coming out of the woodwork who are academics or writers who are focused on this kind of area before. But now that UAPs has entered that arena that they cover, the policy arena, defense and space policy arena, just like Brian Bender, now that UAPs have inserted themselves into this conversation, that's why they're looking at it. And I think what we're finding is fascinating, and we're finding the mechanisms of how that's happening inside of the government. And that then allows us to figure out, how do we plug ourselves in, and how do we facilitate more information getting out and more research being done on these unknowns. It's the exact thing that Chris Mellon and Luis Elizondo are doing behind the scenes, but, applying it on our end. It's a little slower. It's not talking about reptilians and zeta reticulans, but I think it's talking about more interesting stuff, because it's what these new minds, these new brilliant minds that are putting their resources towards thinking about this stuff. People like Dr. Kevin Knuth, who are coming up with fascinating ideas. And that's why I really love being involved with the SCU, the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, because some of the ideas there are really fascinating, and I want to help facilitate that conversation and the burgeoning of this small field of credible, real mainstream research into this field, because I think that the implications obviously are pretty incredible. So that's where we are. And I think that just people have not really fully grasped the importance and the significance of the shift that has happened, and how we're on a totally different level than we were before. And I feel, and part of this transition, of course, COVID, of course, happened as well, and all these other things, but part of this transition is figuring out, well, what is this new world? How do we operate in it? How can we be effective to achieve the goals that we want to achieve in this new world? And that's taken some time to figure out. And really, it's still shaking out, and it'll continue to shake out because we still have this report coming from the Senate intelligence or from the DOD intelligence agencies. So we'll see as things move and shake and change. So that's kind of the future of this, the future of me, and everything that's going on.
Did you know that Dolene is looking to get a T-shirt from us with an invisible UFO? I think that's awesome.
I've got one of those.
Yeah.
Look.
There it is. I can see it. I see where it should be. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's there.
It's there, definitely. Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to say. Finally, I guess I did want to touch on this article, because we probably won't touch on it later, but there was an article that was critical of Avi Loeb.
Yes, I saw that. I have it up here.
Oh, you do? Oh, yeah. Share it.
Yeah, it's the title. It's in Forbes, The Uncensored Guide to Oumuamua Aliens and the Harvard Astronomer. So it basically talks about he is kind of going against all the other science and all the other evidence that it says contrary to the narratives you'll find elsewhere. Loeb's new book, Extraterrestrial, The First Sign of Life Beyond Earth. This is not a possibility worth taking seriously as a scientist. A straightforward look at the evidence shows us why. And then he goes on to, according to the law of gravity, every object that has a gravitationally influenced is gravitationally influenced by the sun will take one of the four orbit paths. And he goes into this article goes into all that. I'm in the middle of reading that book. So far, I think it's really good. It makes a lot of sense. And he's basically what I know you read the book, but what I'm hearing so far in this book is that he's saying that it should be looked at as a possibility. He's not saying it is. He's saying it's one of the theories that should be looked into.
Not necessarily. Well, he's vague, I feel, having read the book. I know you've got an upcoming interview. I've got an upcoming interview, but they have not given me a definitive date. They keep saying, oh, this week. So it's supposed to be sometime next week. We'll see. Oh, I am interviewing William Shatner on Monday.
Oh, you're kidding me.
That'll be it's a phone interview, because he's going to be on Ancient Aliens. That's what the gist of the interview is about.
Oh, and my God.
That's
lucky.
Then a geek article that I'll be posting next week. And maybe I'll ask them if I can post the audio. If so, I'll do that here on this podcast.
That guy's like the Energizer Bunny. You know, how old is he now? He went on a motorcycle trip around the country just like 5 years ago or something. You know, I mean, he's incredible.
But my point here is this, and this is a guy, Ethan Siegel. I think he's kind of harsh on Avi Loeb, but he wrote this article also, which says it's never aliens unless your claims passes this one scientific test. And he makes a great point. And I think this is at the root of the problem that people have with Avi Loeb. His question, see if I can find it here, but it's essentially,
by the way, while you're looking, William Shatner is going to be 90 in March.
Wow.
He's an incredible guy.
Here it is. Yeah, he's an old guy. I'm excited. This is the first time I get to talk to him.
Sharp
Here it is, right here. There's a big test that any claim asking, is it aliens, must stand up to, and no claim has ever passed it. I agree. Is your data good enough to strongly favor the aliens hypothesis over comparatively mundane explanations that don't invoke aliens? And here is where he has a great point. And I think that he kind of can win the argument over this, because Avi Loeb is saying that object moved. It deviated from its path. And in fact, he uses this term. He brings it down to yet it deviated. And he brings down his argument to simply that. So, okay, scientists, sure, but it deviated. This guy is saying, and Avi Loeb addresses this, saying, well, it could have been outgassing. It could have been a couple of other things. Sure, we didn't detect those things, but we can't rule it out completely. And he's right. So, if you were to balance it, the balance I think I could argue with is we can't rule out the mundane explanations. So we can't say it's aliens. And I can't wait. And this is what I want to ask Abby about, because he may agree. He may say, you're right. We can't definitively say it's aliens. Or he might say, no, I think it's definitive aliens. We'll see. I don't know how he'd answer it. But I think this is a really, really good point that until we can, definitively say one way or another, this is the test on, whether it's alien or not. And this is a good test for a lot of different things in this field. So I really like this comment here. It wasn't a comet. Strange Recon podcast is asking, it was a comet? Well, we know it wasn't a comet. And this person in this article is also not arguing that it was a comet. They're mostly saying it could have been an asteroid. Why do we know it's not a comet? Comet has a cloud around it.
It outgasses too.
It outgasses water and debris. That's highly visible. In fact, a week after Oumuamua, and this is weird in itself, don't you think, Martin, that like Oumuamua was the first interstellar object we've ever detected.
And then a week later,
another one.
Another one. Yeah.
What was great, and Avi goes into in the book, is that you can contrast the two. The
other one was normal.
Yeah, had all of the normal hallmarks of a comet. You could see all, but not on this one. So,
it's like one in
here again, I would have to say Strange Recon podcast. It could have been, but we don't know. No, there's no. See, and I think Strange Recon, I just don't feel. So Strange Recon, here's his argument. They didn't detect the gas tail because it was hydrogen, and infrared telescope photographs don't show hydrogen. The problem
there's a problem with that. Yeah.
There is a huge problem with that. But on the one hand, you could be right, Strange Recon podcast. And in that case, you are giving an example of proving this article, this thing that I have up right, and that it says, unless we can say for sure that it's not something else mundane, we can't say it's aliens. Strange Recon is bringing a possibility.
But he argues that.
Recon, huh?
Loeb argues that about the hydrogen.
I know, but still, and so do the other scientists. But the point I'm trying to make is Strange Recon can't prove that. Something that can't be detected doesn't mean it's obviously there. It means it may have been there, but we don't know it was there. So you're not proving yourself, Strange Recon, that there was hydrogen involved. But at the same time, you are demonstrating that there are other possibilities, which goes back to this rule that Avi doesn't pass the rule, and you're demonstrating how he doesn't pass that rule. So on the one point, you got a good point there, Strange Recon. On the other, you can't say definitively as much as Avi Loeb can.
Right.
All right.
We've gone way over, man.
We have gone way over. So let's wrap this. Thank you all so much for listening. I think we covered a lot of great stuff. People had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for those of you who gave me tips. It's incredible. And thank you very much for that. I will try to get those t-shirts out. In fact, I don't know if I've gotten, did you guys even email me yet your addresses? Because how am I supposed to send you your stuff if I don't have your address? Cartola, that's his name, our Canadian friend Cartola. But yeah, send me your information if you want your t-shirts. And thank you all so much for joining. It's a pleasure. It's so much fun to do this every week, and we'll continue to do this. Really, guys, my podcast has been our one constant throughout the entire times with Open Minds. It's the one thing where we get an abundance of tons of people coming to listen to the podcast. And that's why I want to keep it, and I don't want to ever, deteriorate. I want to keep doing it because you guys obviously are having fun. We've created this community where we're having fun discussing these things, and you all appreciate it. So we'll continue to do that. I just can't guarantee outside of that anything else that'll happen. I do want to write a book. I want to write more articles. So I might try to refocus on some of that stuff. I mean, I've got like 3/4 of a book done, some other projects that I'm working on. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, once again, now that COVID is fortunately seems to be starting to go away, things will be changing a bit again, but hopefully, they'll stay pretty consistent for a period of time. But thank you all so much for joining. I just want to say I really do appreciate it. I do appreciate the people who have differing opinions. We all have differing opinions. So that's cool. There's no problem with that. Like I said, I just vehemently disagreed with some of my favorite people in the world, during this show. And I do that every day. So even though I love these people to death, put up or shut up, somebody said. You got to prove it. But thank you all very much. And thank you, Martin, of course, for being here yet again. And what's coming up with your next exciting episode?
Oh, let's see. I have a Larry Hancock coming on. He's involved with the SCU, and he wrote a book called Unidentified. Does that sound familiar?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
definitely does. Cool. Yeah. In fact, I think I might have it right here.
Oh. And what a background this guy has. He's
Speaking
got a really...
of SCU, but you had him on, huh? Robert
No,
Powell
he's coming on.
Wrote a book.
Oh, who's that? Oh, Robert Powell. Yeah. He's been on several times. Great guy. Yep.
Yep, he's great. So another SCU guy. SCU is great. SCU is where it's at. Go check it out. All right. Thank you. Bim Jim says we all have personality. Bim Jim has a strong personality. Thank you for joining. So thank you, Space Ghost and Benjamin and Dolene and Christian and Luis and Finn and Benjamin and Strange Recon and
Boogie on down.
Yeah, Boogie on down. Tim, all of you guys for joining.
TJS.
Simone, thank you so much for joining.
Dolene.
As things change, I just want the one constant and the one major thing is that I just appreciate all of you listeners so much. I really, really do. So thank you all so much for joining. Thank you, Martin. And I guess that's it, huh?
That's it.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Until next time, adios, muchachos.